So we are going to start the session. So thank you so much for joining the very first session of our RHCSA English Weekends training. In this training, we will cover up all the topics that are important from the RHCSA version 9 exam points of view. We will cover all the topics there. This training will start right from the scratch. Means if a person is not aware of Linux, if he doesn't have any skills, he will be able to complete this syllabus. He will be able to become the Linux administrator after completing this course. This is a training which will focus on the practicals. So here we will try to cover up all the concepts, all the topics practically. First, I will give you the introduction of the topic. I will explain the concept theoretically. After that, I will show you that as well on the terminal practically. I will also give you the practice exercises which will help you to understand the concept and to have a better clarity about the topic and the technology that we are using. We will also provide you the access on the recordings and the PDFs which I am using here. And in case if you miss any of these meetings, you can watch the session later on because we will provide you the access on the Google Drive. And that will be available with you for 1 year. Generally, we will not revoke it, but we can commit only 1 year access, although we will not remove it after 1 year. Many people are here who are freshers or who doesn't have any idea about Linux. Many of you may be aware of Linux. Some people are here who are already having the clarity, who are already working as the Linux admin. So we have a combination of people from different skill set, different you can say levels. So my focus will be to start from the scratch and take you to the advanced level. We will cover all the things right from the beginning, right from scratch, so that even if a person is not aware of it, he can understand easily. So the question is, why should you learn Linux? But before I explain this, let me tell you about the agenda of today's session. In today's session, I will give you the overview, like why should you learn Linux. I will cover the objective of RHCSA. After that, I will tell you the Red Hat certifications path, like what are the certifications that if you want to do, you can do, and how should you proceed. I will also explain the syllabus of RHCSA version 9. I will also tell you about the exam. How is the Red Hat RHCSA exam? What is the format? How can you book the voucher? What is the duration? What is the cost? All those things. After that, I will also tell you about the history of Unix, history of Linux, obviously. We will also cover the differences between RHEL 8 and RHEL 9. I will give you the overview of the virtualization, and then I will show you how can you actually use the virtualization in your computer and how can you use the virtualization tools there like Oracle VirtualBox or VMware. If you don't have those specific hardwares, or if your machine is not capable enough, you can also create your account on AWS so that you can set up your instance, you can set up your virtual machine there, and you can practice with the help of that particular virtual machine. So I will show you how can you install the RHEL 9.3 using the virtualization tool. How can you deploy the virtual machine in your own PC with the help of Oracle VirtualBox or VMware, or how can you set up the virtual machine on the AWS. After that, I will show you how can you connect to your machine using the command line interface, using the terminal tools like PuTTY or MOBA Exterm. So this is the agenda for today's session, and let's start the session with why should I learn Linux? What are the benefits of learning Linux in today's scenario? Learning Linux provides you several advantages depending on your interest, your career goals, and your computing requirements. Because there are several advantages of learning Linux. Many people learn it because of their interest. Many people take Linux as the career goal because it opens many career opportunities for you. So we will start with each and every topic. Linux is open source. So learning Linux introduces you to the world of open source software where the users are having the freedom not only to view the code, but they can also modify it and distribute with others. So Linux works on open source philosophy. Okay. Second is market demand. Nowadays, many IT jobs and roles, especially if I talk about the DevOps or the cloud computing or the cyber security or the network security, what they require? They require knowledge of Linux. In many roles, Linux knowledge is must. So Linux is in demand because Linux is being used everywhere. It is being used in a small smartwatch and it is being used in the large machines like the machines which is running there in Geneva, Large Hadron Collider, it is being used in NASA. So from a smartwatch to supercomputers, you can find Linux everywhere. Third is cost effectiveness. Linux is very cost effective because it is freely available. You can use Linux freely. And there are many flavors, many versions, many distributions, many communities available for Linux. So you can accordingly choose the flavor, the version as per your own requirements. Like if you are an individual, you can select your own choice of Linux version or flavor. If you are a business or if you are running any organization, you can choose accordingly. 90% of the machines that we use for the servers, those machines are running on Linux. So Linux plays a vital role in server administration, in servers. So learning Linux will help you there as well. Linux dominates the server market, powering a significant portion of the web servers, cloud infrastructure, and enterprise servers. Next is security. Linux is very secure as compared to the other operating systems. So Linux is known for its robust security features, like there are multiple layers of security present in Linux. Not only discretionary access, but there is mandatory access control available, which is known as SE Linux. We can find firewall there, and PAM authentication feature is also available there, and it also supports the other security technologies that we use nowadays. It is also used for the development purpose. Many developers prefer Linux machines for developing the softwares and the applications. Next point is command line proficiency. Linux provides you the facility to manage the system using the command line interface only. Because command line is a very powerful tool as compared to GUI. With the help of command line utility, you can perform all type of tasks. So it provides you the command line proficiency to manage the machine with the help of the commands without even touching the GUI. And here in this particular course, we will prefer the command line interface only. Only the black screen we will use to fire the commands and perform our job. Linux is very compatible with the cloud services. Most of the cloud service providers like AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, Alibaba, all of them are using Linux, and the instances that we run there, 90% of the instances we run, the instances which are based on Linux only. So it also supports the cloud computing environment. Next is networking. Linux provides you robust networking capabilities, making the Linux a very popular choice for the networking professionals. As I mentioned earlier, diversity of the distributions. Linux provides you choice to select your own distribution, own flavor, because in market there are multiple distributions available, multiple flavors available. There are multiple communities which are managing different type of Linux flavors. So if I summarize it, learning Linux can broaden your skills. It will increase your employability in tech industry, and it will also provide you a solid foundation for the various IT job roles. Whether you are interested in server administration, software development, cloud computing, network security, cyber security, DevOps, Linux proficiency is a valuable asset. Or even if you're not trying for a job, learning Linux is a fun. It will also help you in your day-to-day life. So that's why you should always learn Linux, no matter which field you belong, where you want to build your career. You should always learn Linux if you want to excel. Now I will tell you what is the role of RHCSA certification and developing the Linux skills. Why we are focusing only on the RHCSA certification? Actually, there are multiple certification programs available in the market, but RHCSA is one of the popular certifications that Linux administrators prefer. And the reason behind that is because 90% of the companies, they prefer RHEL Linux. Other flavors are also used like Ubuntu, SUSE, they are also used, but RHCSA certification has its own place because of the popularity of RHEL, that is Red Hat Enterprise Linux. Red Hat Enterprise Linux is very popular amongst others because it provides the support as well, and it opens the path for you for other certifications. So why should you go for the RHCSA certification, and why should you develop the Linux skills? What will be the impact of these skills on your career? These points I am going to cover up. First, in-demand skills. Linux is widely used in enterprise environments like cloud computing, server infrastructure. RHCSA certification validates your skills. It means if you have cleared the certification, it means you have good Linux administration skills, because this is the exam which is totally practical based. It focuses only on the practical skills and the concepts that have you learned during the training program. Second is versatility. Linux is not limited to a specific industry or sector. It is being used everywhere. The skills gained through this RHCSA certification are applicable in all the fields where Linux is used, including server administration, DevOps, cloud computing, cyber security, network security. So you will have an option to build your career in any of these sectors. Third is industry recognition. Red Hat certifications are well reputed, well respected, and are acceptable everywhere. No matter in which country you live, no matter where you are doing the job, these certifications are having their own weightage and are accepted everywhere. These are very beneficial for your career advancement. RHCSA is the foundational certification, and it not only provides you the skills, but it also opens the doors for the advanced certifications like Red Hat Certified Engineer, which is also known as RHCE. It also enables the door for RHCA title, and it is just like a stepping stone for your career progression. It also provides you the opportunity for more jobs. After completing the RHCSA certification or after gaining the RHCSA skills, you will be able to build your career in any of these domains. Like you can build your career in server administration, networking, in cloud, DevOps, network security, cyber security. You can become a trainer as well. So it will give you more job opportunities. It will also give you the salary hike. So if I talk about the package, after completing this certification, you will be able to get a higher package as compared to a person who is not certified. You can also contribute to the open source projects if you want. And it will also help you to adapt with the technology trends, like if you want to go for Docker or Kubernetes or some other technology which is based on Linux, you can easily adapt that because those technologies are working on the basis of Linux knowledge. So it is just like a stepping stone, not only for your career, but to go for the other latest technologies which are in trend. You can easily learn those technologies if you have learned Linux already. Linux is very secure, as I mentioned earlier. So Linux is known for its security features, and by mastering Linux, you can enhance your understanding of the secure system administration practices and policies. They will definitely help you in cyber security landscape if you want to build your career in security. Red Hat certifications are globally accepted, so global recognition would be there for you after completing the RHCSA certification. Now I will tell you this certification path that you can follow if you want. Like what are the Red Hat certifications that you can go for? As I mentioned earlier, RHCSA is the basic certification or the foundation level certification which opens the doors for the other certifications like RHCE or RHCA title. What is RHCSA? RHCSA is Red Hat Certified System Administrator. Here, what will be your role? A Red Hat Certified System Administrator is the IT professional who has earned the RHCSA certificate after clearing the exam, and he is the person who should be able to perform the core system administration tasks, like he should be able to manage the users and the groups, he should be able to manage the permissions, he should be able to manage the processes, networking, packages, tuning, storage, containers, firewall, SE Linux. So all those things you should be able to perform manually after you gain this certification. After that, if you want, you can go for RHCE. That is the next level certification, which is also called as the Red Hat Certified Engineer. The things that you were performing manually earlier, those things you can automate with the help of Ansible in RHCE. So RHCE certification will help you in the automation. A Red Hat Certified Engineer or RHCE is a person or is a Linux administrator who has already completed the RHCSA, and he should be able to automate the Linux tasks like integrating emerging technologies, like managing users automatically, managing permissions, managing services. So all those things, and he should be able to apply the automation for efficiency and innovation. So if you want to reduce the manual task, if you want to reduce the time that you are taking to perform a task on the multiple machines, there you can prefer Ansible and you can go for the certification after getting the training. These two certifications will definitely help you if you want to go for the RHCA. RHCA is the title, that is the Red Hat Certified Architect. And a Red Hat Certified Solution Architect is a person who provide the guidance, expertise and implement the policies for developing the enterprise systems for the products and services offered by a specific vendor. Means a company which may be either the product based or the service based. For that particular company, if you are working as the Red Hat Certified Architect, you will provide the guidance and you will implement the policies to develop the systems, to design the systems. A solution architect is a role, it is a title that you can achieve. And for achieving this, you have to clear a total of 7 certifications. After clearing RHCSA and RHCE, you have to clear 5 more certifications, and there is an entire list for it. So if you want, you can go for that. So who can go for these certifications? Like if you are the new or the beginner, you can either go for RH 124 or 134, or you can directly go for EX 200. So this is the training which we are conducting. The code is EX 200, Red Hat Certified System Administrator. After this, you can directly go for RHCE, which is EX 294. So there are multiple certifications. Like if you already have some knowledge, you can go for the RHCSA Rapid Track course, and after that you can go for the RHCSA if you want, and you can go for the RHCE. So RHCSA is the basic one, and after that you can go for RHCE. Senior Linux administrators can directly go for RHCSA and then go for RHCE, or they may go for RH 254 and then they can go for RHCE. Those who are already certified previously, they can take the RHCE certification lab and they can directly go for RHCE, or they can follow this path as well, which we are following. First RHCSA and then RHCE. So as I mentioned earlier, first you have to complete RHCSA certification, then you can complete RHCE. After that, in order to gain the RHCA title, you have to complete 5 more certifications. You have to clear 5 more exams from this list. This is the entire list of the certifications, and you can choose 5 exams from this list. And once you clear 5 from here and 1 RHCSA and RHCE, so in total you have to complete 7 certifications so that you can get the title of Red Hat Certified Solutions Architect, which is RHCA. So this was the information about the Red Hat certification path. Now we will come back to RHCSA. EX 200 is the exam code, and it is a practical hands-on exam, and Red Hat will test your skills and knowledge of the system administration during this exam. What will be the duration of the exam? It may be from 2.5 to 3 hours. So you have to sit there in the exam for at least 3 hours. And you can appear in the exam from your home, like the remote exam, or you can visit the center after booking it, and you can appear in the exam from there as well. So there are 2 options. Either you can appear in the exam from your home, or you can appear in the exam from the center. Format is hands-on, performance-based, like you have to directly work on the live systems and you have to perform the real-world tasks. The maximum marks are 300. Your evaluation will be done out of 300, and the passing score would be 70%. Like you have to clear it with minimum 70% score. You have to at least achieve 210 marks out of 300. Once you get a score of 70% or higher, you will be able to get the RHCSA certification. What is the cost? Its cost in India is 16,500 plus GST. So it would be somewhere around 19,500 rupees in India. It may be different in other countries. You can visit the Red Hat portal for the latest information about the price of this exam. Many institutes provide you the discount offers because they already have a commission or a tie-up with Red Hat. So some of the institutes can offer this for 15,000, 16,000, 17,000. So you can get a discount as well. If you want to appear in the exam, you can purchase the voucher from any of such institutes. Now we will talk about the syllabus. What will be the topics and what are the things that will be covered in this training, and you will be tested based on the knowledge from these topics. First is understand and use of the essential tools. So you should be able to use the command prompt, or we call the shell. You should be able to issue the command. You should know input output redirection, grep, regular expressions. You should be able to connect your machine through SSH. You should be able to log in and switch the users. You should be able to compress and uncompress the files, create and edit the text files, create, delete, copy, move the files and the directories. You should be able to create the hard and the soft links. You should know a little bit of shell scripting also for this exam. You should be able to create the simple shell scripts, like you can use the conditional operators there. You should know how to use the loops. You should know how to process the input. You should know how to process the output. So all those things you should know, and these things we will cover in the shell scripting portion. Third is operate running system. You should know how to handle the running system, how to boot, reboot and shut down the system, how to boot into the different target modes, how to interrupt the boot process and gain control on the system. You should be able to identify the CPU memory intensive processes and kill the processes accordingly. Means you should know how to do the process management and the resource management. You should be able to adjust the process scheduling. You should be able to manage the tuning profiles. You should know how to manage the storage, like how can you create, delete and list the partitions on MBR and the GPT disks. You should know how to manage the physical volumes, volume groups, the logical volumes. You should be able to make a permanent entry in the FS tab for permanent mounting using the UUID. You should be able to add the new partitions and the logical volumes and the swap. So these things we will cover in the storage management section. After that, the next topic is you should know how to manage the file systems, like how can you create and unmount the file systems. You should know how to manage the NFS file systems. You should be able to configure AutoFS. You should be able to extend and reduce the logical volumes. You should be able to create and configure the SGID directories for the collaboration. You should know how to diagnose and fix the permissions on a file or on a directory to address the issues. You should be able to deploy, configure and maintain the systems, like you should know how to do the future task scheduling using at and cron tab. You should be able to start and stop the services and how to set a service at the boot time to start automatically. You should know how to configure the system to boot into a specific target automatically. You should be able to configure the NTP server and the clients. You should be able to do the package management and patching. You should be able to manage the repositories. You should be able to modify the bootloader. Then comes the networking portion. You should be able to set the IPv4, IPv6 addresses. You should know how to manage the hostname. You should know how to configure the network services to start automatically at the boot time. You should know how to restrict the network access using firewall. You should be able to manage the users and the groups, like how can you create, delete or modify the user and the groups. You should know how to change the password, how to set the password aging for the account, how to modify the local groups and the local users. You should be able to control the super access. Then comes the security portion. Here you should have a knowledge of firewall and SE Linux, including the file permissions. You should know how to set the key-based authentication for SSH, changing SE Linux mods, listing SE Linux file and process contexts, restore the contexts, managing the SE Linux ports, managing the booleans in SE Linux, diagnose and address the SE Linux policy violations. You should be able to understand what are the policies that are used in SE Linux, how can you create your own policy, how to implement the policy. So those things also we will cover up. Then comes the containers. Containers is a new technology. You might have heard about the Docker. So here we will use the Podman. You should be able to find and retrieve the container images from the remote registry. You should be able to inspect the container images. You should be able to perform the container management using commands. You should know how to build the container from the container file, how to perform the basic container management like running it, starting it, stopping it, deleting it. You should know how to run a container as a systemd unit, how to run a service inside a container. So these things we will cover up in the containers section. So this was all about the RHCSA exam. This was the overview for the of the RHCSA exam. Now we will proceed further. I will share these PPTs with you and the PDFs as well. Now we will talk about the career opportunities. What will be the career opportunities for you after completing this training? How this training will help you in your career. There are multiple job opportunities which will be waiting for you after completing this training. This training will help you for many roles, like you can directly go for the system administrator role. After completing this training, you will be able to work as a Linux system administrator. Linux is widely used everywhere, and in this training you will get a good knowledge and skills that are required for the Linux system administrator. You can go for the DevOps engineer profile as well, because in DevOps, Linux plays a vital role. Multiple tools that we use there, those work very closely with Linux. Linux knowledge is mandatory for learning those tools for those tools and technologies. So you can build your career in DevOps as well. You can go for the cloud engineer profile after completing this course, because Linux is used in the cloud as well. Many cloud service providers like AWS, Azure, Google, Alibaba, they heavily use Linux. And Linux knowledge is very crucial for managing the virtual machines containers there. So it is a very good platform for you if you want to build your career as a cloud engineer. You can also go for the network administrator profile after completing this course, because Linux is used in the networking also. As I mentioned earlier, it also opens the door for you in cybersecurity space. If you want to build your career in cybersecurity, this is the very first or the beginning of your career where you are learning Linux. Learning Linux will definitely help you if you want to build your career in cybersecurity. You can go for the cybersecurity analyst role after completing this course. If you are interested in programming, you can go for the software developer job after completing this training. Many developers prefer Linux as their development environment. So Linux is used there as well, and if you want to build your career as a software developer, after completing this training, you can go for that as well. You can also build your career as a database administrator after completing this course, because the database servers that we are using nowadays, those machines run on Linux, and Linux knowledge is very important for those people who are working as a database administrator. So you can go for the DevOps administrator role also after you complete this course. You can also become the IT consultant. If you have good knowledge, good experience, you can also become the IT consultant, and Linux knowledge is mandatory for those people. You can also become the penetration tester or the ethical hacker after completing this training, because the professionals who work as the ethical hacker or the penetration tester, they use Linux machines. You can also build your career as the data scientist or the data analyst, because Linux is commonly used in data science and analytics environments. and you can also become the trainer or the educator like me after completing this training and having a good exposure and knowledge. After doing that, you can also become the trainer if you want. So these are the opportunities which are open for you after you complete this training. This is the syllabus of RHCSA version 9, which we will cover up here. So these are the topics which we will cover in this training, and this course would be 65 to 70 hours long, or even maybe more, and it will take about 3 to 4 months in completing this entire course. What are the benefits? You will be able to access the recorded sessions. You will be able to get the access on the study material. You can post your queries in our WhatsApp group, but there is a Telegram discussion group as well, which will always remain there. You can join that one as well. Our content is available in Hindi and English. This training is in English, but if you want it in Hindi, you can join our membership on YouTube channel and you can get that course as well. And technical support is also available from my side for all the people who are either having the membership or who have joined the personal batches. And this is the same content which I just shown you on the PowerPoint presentation. All the topics I have already explained. I will share this PDF with you and you can go through it and you can check what are the topics that we are covering up, we will cover up, and you can track and manage your progress with the help of this. Now, let's start the session with the introduction to Unix. And why Unix? Because Linux is Unix-like operating system. It is based on Unix. So before we go on Linux, we should have a brief idea about Unix. But before I tell you the history of Unix, before that, let's understand what are the types of computer languages that we use. As you know, there are 3 major categories of computer languages: low-level language, middle-level language, and high-level language. So you might be wondering why I am telling you these things in this very first session where I'm going to teach you Linux. Because these languages have played a vital role in the development of Unix. Unix development had taken place using these programming languages. So these languages have played a crucial role in the development of Unix and later on Linux. So these languages are low-level language, middle-level language, and high-level language. Low-level language is that language where we use zeros and ones, like it is a binary language. We don't use the codes, mnemonics, or human language words there. We use only zeros and ones. This language is only understandable by the hardware. We are not able to understand this language properly. Second is the middle level language. This language is slightly understandable to us and we use mnemonics to create the instructions. And third is high level language. High level language is similar to our human language, where we use our own words that we use in our language, and there are different facilities like advantages and disadvantages provided by these languages. If we will compare these 3 languages with each other, let me show you the picture. You can have a look at this. I have listed all the 3 programming languages. First one is the machine level language, where we are only using zeros and ones. Second is assembly level language, where we are using the instructions, mnemonics. And third is high level language, where we are using the words. Machine level languages is easily understandable to the hardware, but not to us. Assembly level languages is slightly understandable to us, and the high level languages is completely understandable to the human beings. In assembly level language, we used instructions like the assembly level language that we use in, you might have idea about the, what do we call it, microcontrollers, microprocessors. If you are from the technical background, like if you have completed the degrees like BTech, MTech, you might be having the idea of the assembly level language programming. High level languages are like C++, Java, Python. So these three languages have played a vital role in the development of Unix. Let me show you the table where I compare all these three languages with each other. If I talk about the human readability, machine level languages are binary code. It is completely non-readable to us. Assembly level languages use mnemonics and it is slightly readable. High level languages are completely readable. It is just like English that we use. Machine level language is the lowest level language. Assembly level language is the low level language, and the high level language is a high level language because it is completely understandable to us. If I talk about the instructions, how we pass the instructions, in machine level languages, we use binary stream of bits. In assembly level language, we use mnemonics, like we give the instructions. And in high level language, we use commands. If I talk about the portability feature, machine level language is not portable. Assembly level language is also not portable. It is hardware specific. And the high level languages is generally portable and it supports all the platforms. While the other two, they are generally hardware dependent. If I talk about the development time, machine level language is very time consuming. Assembly level language is also time consuming. And the high level language is the faster one and it is less time consuming. So you can go through this table. I will not go in these details. Let me quickly come to here on this picture. This is the microcontroller. It is a chip which is present in the motherboard. It is just like the CPU that we use nowadays. Microcontroller is similar to microprocessor, but it has RAM and the memory on its own chip. While in the microprocessors, we keep them separately on the motherboard. Microcontrollers are the hardwares or the chips. So machine level language is very, you can say, it is very understandable to the hardware, to the microcontrollers. So if I talk about the control, machine level language is having the highest control on the hardware. If I talk about the usability, how much usable it is to us, it is not very usable because we are not able to properly understand what is going on. If I talk about the assembly level language, it is having a slighter less control on the hardware, but it is slightly better usable to us. If I talk about the high level language is having a lowest control on the hardware, but it is highly usable to us. So on the one side, there are advantages. On the other side, there are disadvantages. The language which will have the lowest usability, that will have the highest control on the hardware. So you can have a look at this picture. At the lowest layer, we have the hardware, then the machine level language, which is having the highest control on the hardware, then the assembly level language, then the high level language like C, Java, Fortran, COBOL, all those languages. Now, why these languages are important? Because they have played a crucial role in the development of Unix. So what was the involvement of A, B, C languages in the development of Unix? The development of Unix involved the use of multiple programming languages. Unix was developed with the help of multiple programming languages. And these languages are A language, B language, and later C language. So we will start with the A language. The initial version of Unix, which is also known as Unix, Uniplexed Information and Computing Services, it was the full form. It was developed in assembly level language, A language. Assembly level language, A language stands for assembly level. And it was developed for the Digital Equipment Control, DEC, PDP-7 microcomputer in 1969. So, the first version or the initial version of Unix, which was also known as Uniplexed Information and Computing Service, it was the very first or the initial version which was developed in 1969 using assembly level language for the Digital Equipment Corporation. It was a company. The development team was having Ken Thompson and Dennis Ritchie there. These were the guys who were present in the development team, and they started working on Unix using the assembly level language. However, soon they realized that the limitations of the assembly language in terms of portability and ease of development. As you know that the language which is having a good control on the hardware, that is not very portable and not very usable, because hardware dependency is there and it takes a lot of time to write the program in assembly level language. So they realized that it would be a very hectic task for us to create an operating system with the help of the assembly level language. So what they did to address these problems, they started using a high level language called B. So Ken Thompson created the high level language called the B language, and B was developed around 1970s, and he was influenced by the basic combined programming language. So the full form is basic combined programming language. So with the influenced from this, he started working on B language. B was used to rewrite many components of Unix. So the components that were earlier written in A or the assembly level, now Ken Thompson rewrote those components using the B language. But again, B language had its own limitations and there many improvements were required. So they dropped the idea of using the B language to develop Unix. Then they started working on C language. Then Dennis Ritchie, he realized that there is a need of more powerful and the versatile language than B, and he started creating C programming language in later 1970s. So Unix was subsequently rewritten. It was rewritten in C, starting with the creation of the new kernel, and this move to C was a pivotal decision in the history of the Unix, as C offered a good balance between the low-level control and high-level abstraction. C language is very powerful because it is a high-level language and it is having a good control on the hardware as well. So both the facilities are there. The use of C language made Unix more portable and less hardware dependent as compared to the other two languages that were being used to develop the Unix operating system. The availability of high-level language like C also contributed to the development of a robust and extensible software ecosystem around Unix. So C language was the language that was used to create the Unix operating system. And the adoption of C played a crucial role in the success of Unix. Unix was a successful operating system because of the adoption of C language. Because C language made it more accessible to a wider audience and facilitating its portability to various computer architectures. Now, we will directly go to the year that was having those years which were very important in the development of Unix. Some historic years. The history of Unix dates back to the late 1960s when it was developed at Bell Labs, the research and development team, research and development subsidiary of AT&T. AT&T means American Telephone and Telegraph. So Dennis Ritchie and Ken Thompson started the Unix project at AT&T Bell Labs in 1969. It was initially developed as a small multitasking operating system for digital equipment control, PDP-7 microcomputer. The first version or the first edition of Unix was released in 1971. You can have a look at this. It almost took 2 years. It was written in the assembly language and designed to be a portable and multitasking and multi-user operating system. The decision to rewrite Unix in C programming language later played a crucial role in the widespread adoption. So this version was developed using assembly level language. After that, in 1973, the second edition, it was developed by Dennis Ritchie using the C programming language, and the Unix was written in C, making it more portable and easier to maintain. After that, or even before that, in late 1970s, the Barclay Software Distribution (BSD) Unix variant was developed using the original Unix, the first version of Unix, at the University of California, Berkeley. The BSD version introduced many enhancements and improvements, contributing significantly to the development of Unix. So what the Berkeley Software Distribution Unix people who developed it, what they did, they made some changes in the first version of Unix, and they added many features and the improvements, and this Unix was released in late 1970s, and this was known as the BSD Unix. Then AT&T Unix system version 3 and version 5, it was released in 1980s. So AT&T released Unix system version 3 in early 1980s, followed by Unix system version 5 in 1983. So the third version was released in 1980s, and then they released version 5 in 1983. These were the commercial versions of Unix who has already gained the popularity in the industry. Then in 1983, Richard Stallman announced the GNU project. It was an effort to create free and open source Unix-like operating system. So in 1983, Richard Stallman announced the GNU project, and Free Software Foundation was established to support this initiative. In 1988, the IEEE introduced the POSIX, Portable Operating System Interface, and it was released in 1988 to standardize the APIs for the Unix-like operating system, encouraging the compatibilities across different Unix implementations. Later on, in 1991, Linux was developed by Linus Torvald. Linus Torvald created the Unix-like kernel in 1991, and it became a popular Unix-like operating system, particularly in the open source community. Linux was combined with GNU utilities and libraries to form a complete and free Unix-like operating system. So what is Unix? What is Linux? Linux is not an operating system. It is not an operating system. It is just a kernel. The initial version of Linux that was developed by Linus Torvald in 1991, it was a kernel only. Later on, it was combined with the utilities, with the softwares, with the tools, with the libraries which were available in GNU, So the kernel which was developed by the Linus Torvald and the utilities which were provided by the GNU. What they did, they combined the kernel with the GNU utilities to develop a Unix-like operating system that we are using nowadays, and this operating system is popular with the name as Linux, but Linux is the kernel. It is not the operating system. What is the actual name? It is GNU. So this was the history of Unix. What is the actual history of Linux? How Linux was derived by using Unix. The history of Linux begins with the creation of the Linux kernel by Linus Torvald. Linus Torvald is the guy who developed the Linux kernel. Linus Torvald is a computer scientist. When he was studying at the University of Helsinki in Finland, he announced the project to develop a new operating system kernel on 25th of August 1991. He released the first version of Linux kernel, that was version 0.01, and he invited collaborations from the open source community. He invited many other communities to make further advancement in this kernel. As I mentioned earlier, GNU project and Free Software Foundation during 1983 to 1991. As I mentioned earlier, in 1983, GNU project was initiated and Free Software Foundation was set up to support this initiative. So what they did, they collaborated with Linus Torvald. So Linux was combined with GNU utilities and libraries to create a complete operating system. Since Linux was the kernel only at that time, so what the other things were required to develop the operating system? Those other things were the binaries, libraries, utilities, and the other tools that makes a complete operating system. So what they did, they collaborated with Linus Torvald. The kernel was that which Linus Torvald had developed, and they added the features there, like many utilities and libraries were added there, and they created a complete operating system. So this operating system was known as GNU, or they call it Linux. The first distribution of Linux was released in 1993. And from there, Linux gained its popularity. On different years, different versions were released having different features. Then, since it was the open source movement, in 1998, open source movement started, open source initiative we call it. And after that, there many communities came up with different ideas, with different visions, and they started creating their own versions and own flavors. And some of the popular communities are like Debian, Fedora, Arch Linux. So these are the communities which are responsible for different flavors of Linux. Nowadays, more than 100 flavors of Linux available in the market. The Android that you are using nowadays, it was released in 2008. Do you know your Android is also based on the Linux kernel? The iOS that you use, that is also derived from Unix. In 2010, containerization and cloud services, cloud technologies are integrated in the Linux kernel. So it has gained its popularity after 1993, and more people are using Linux nowadays as compared to the previous year, and this number is increasing every year. We are familiar with Windows because we are using it since our childhood. But you will not believe that many of the people, those who are working on Windows, they are not having any idea about the open source They think that Windows is a free operating system, but it is not like that. Windows is not a free operating system, and Windows operating system is also based on the DOS, disk operating system. DOS was also developed by Dennis Ritchie. Many people might not know that he is the same guy who developed Unix. He was responsible. He was in the team who invented DOS. What they did, they sold it to the Microsoft, and Microsoft started using the name as MS-DOS. And later on, they created Windows based on the MS-DOS. So this was all about the history of Unix and the history of Linux. You can go through this PDF. It is not important for the exam, but for the general awareness, general knowledge, you should know about it. Now let me take you to this PPT. So these are the guys. These two are the people. Because of these two, today we are here. I'm here to provide you the training on Linux. Reason behind these two people. So it was started in AT&T Bell Labs. Ken Thompson and Dennis Ritchie. These are the two people who started working on the Unix project in 1969. Initially, they used the assembly level language, then B language, and then C language for the development of Unix. And later on, Linus Torvald came up with the idea of developing the new kernel, and he developed Linux with the help of the Unix operating system. It was developed in several versions for different hardware platforms in initial days, like for Sun Sparc, PowerPC, Motorola, HP processors. They developed it for different hardware platforms. In 1991, Linus Torvald created a Unix-like operating system which was able to run on Intel 368 processors. And at that time, he was studying in the University of Helsinki. He was developing the Linux kernel, and he was trying to create a Unix-like operating system there. At that time, Intel had already started dominating the PC market, but Unix was nearly absent from the initial Intel market. And the reason behind that was it was very bulky operating system. And at that time, we were not having the storage devices which were very capable enough to handle the more data. At that time, we used the storage devices in kilobyte, megabyte only. And it was very bulky operating system for someone. It was not portable, and it was hardly used. It was only present in laboratories, in US defense, or the major projects only. In January 2000, Apple announced the Macintosh OS X. It was also based on Unix. It was a hybrid combination that provides the Unix command line features to you. So the Apple announced the Mac OS X in 2000, January 2000. Now the question is whether the Linux is same as Unix. The answer is yes and no both. Why? Because it has the same look and the feel like the Unix operating system. It also offers the ability to run all the programs like Unix. If you want to run a program on Unix, you can run same program you can run on Linux as well, because it provides you the same ability to execute those programs. But where it is different, because the heart or the kernel of the operating system has gone beyond the classical design philosophy of the Unix kernels. It has a lot of new features as compared to Unix. So that's why Linux and Unix both are not same. Linux is Unix-like operating system. It is not completely Unix. It is a Unix-like operating system. What is GNU? GNU stands for GNU not Unix. So What was GNU? It was a project of Free Software Foundation that was there for the open source community, and later on, with the help of this Free Software Foundation, GNU, and the kernel which was developed by the Linus Torvald, they created Unix. They created Linux. Richard Stallman created Free Software Foundation to encourage the development and use of the freely redistributable codes, or freely to develop the open source operating systems. So this is the theoretical portion, you can go through it. Here, freely doesn't mean that zero financial cost would be there. Free means the source code is freely available to you. You can easily view the code, modify the code, and redistribute the code as per your own requirements, or there are certain conditions which you need to fulfill if you want to redistribute that code. That's it. Now, I will talk about the flavors of Unix. What are the different flavors that are available in the market for Unix? So you can find Solaris, Oracle Solaris there, Mac OS there, IBM AIX there, HP Unix, and Linux. So these are the flavors of Unix. If I talk about the flavors of Linux, there are different flavors available in the market like Red Hat, CentOS, Ubuntu, Kali, Fedora, OpenSUSE, and many more like Linux Mint. There are more than hundreds of Linux flavors available in the market nowadays. Flavors of Unix are Linux, HP Unix, IBM AIX, Macintosh, and Solaris. And there are more than hundreds of flavors available in the market for Linux. What are the features of the Linux operating system? Linux is having the high security, it is virus free, highly stable, multi-user, multitasking operating system, open source. It provides you the ease of maintenance, hardware independent. You can easily use Linux. It is freely available. Customization options are also available. It can be used in educational projects also. It is a distributed operating system, means there are different flavors, different versions available. It supports almost all types of file systems. Community support is also available, and it handles the processes in a better way as compared to the other operating systems. So these are some of the features that Linux possesses. Now we will talk about where Linux is used. It is used in supercomputers, servers, cloud computing, Large Hadron Collider, NASA, space robots, gaming consoles, smart TVs, US defense, nuclear submarines, space stations, smart watches, in-car entertainments, flights, smart cars, bikes, air traffic controls, stock exchanges, mobile phones, laptops, desktops, PCs. So Linux can be found anywhere. It is available everywhere, from a smartwatch to the supercomputer. It is present everywhere. Now we will talk about the kernel. What do you understand by the term kernel? So kernel acts as a bridge which interacts between the hardware and the user. It helps you to manage the operating system, like whatever task you want to perform by giving the instructions. So kernel is responsible for accepting those instructions from you and provide those instructions to the hardware. So any operating system may be classified or may be categorized in three pieces: hardware, kernel, and the user or the built-in utilities. Here we give the instructions with the help of shell. Shell is the command line interface. Let me explain the working of the kernel with an example. Suppose you are working on your PC and you want to increase the volume of the speaker. What will you do? You will go on the volume bar and you will adjust the bar with the help of the mouse click. What will happen at the back end? The operating system or the utility of the volume bar will give an instruction to the kernel that the user is trying to adjust the volume. User wants to increase the volume. So the instruction will go to the kernel. Kernel will act accordingly, and kernel will send a signal to the hardware that the user is trying to adjust the volume. He wants to increase the volume. So what will happen? A signal will flow in the hardware. A signal will go in the motherboard in the amplification circuit, and it will increase the gain of the transistor, which is responsible for managing the volume. So the input signal that was flowing to the amplifier, the gain will increase so that the output will increase and we will get the higher sound from the speaker. So here kernel plays a vital role. It passes the instructions from the user to the hardware. It acts as a bridge. It connects the hardware with the user with the help of the programs, the utilities that are running on the operating system. So kernel is responsible for the low level hardware communications, and the programs that we are using on the operating system, those programs are actually responsible for accepting the input from the user and pass that to the kernel. So what is shell? Shell is a program. Shell is an interface that we use on most of the Unix like operating systems. It is just like the command prompt. It is the command line interface. You can compare it with the command prompt in Windows or the DOS operating system. What is shell? Shell is not the terminal. Shell is different from the terminal. Terminal is the tool. Terminal is the tool where shell is running. If you open the terminal to fire the commands, terminal accepts the command from you, but it is the shell who interprets the command and passes it to the kernel. The shell is loaded on the terminal, and at the back end, it is managing the instructions that you are giving to the operating system on the terminal. A shell is not the terminal. Keep in mind, shell is the interface that is loaded on the terminal so that you can fire the commands and you can give the instructions to the operating system. Shell is not the only way to pass the instructions or to perform the job. You can also use GUI in Linux. GUI facility is also available, but we prefer CLI only because with the help of CLI, we can efficiently and quickly manage the system or even a remote machine or even a cloud machine which is running somewhere else. Because loading the GUI takes time, and GUI sometimes do not provide you those much capabilities which are provided there with the help of the command line interface or the shell. How will you log in the shell? To log in the shell, you must have your account on the system. If you don't have your account, you will ask the admin to create the account and assign a password to your account. So the administrator will give you the username and the password so that you can log in the shell and you can manage the system with the help of the commands through the shell. So shell is a means of communication with the operating system. With if you want to perform a task, if you want to do the job, you can do it through the shell. If you have your account there, you can log in the shell first, and after that you can manage your machine. Now I will talk about the Linux file system structure. What are the things, what are the files or the directories that we can find in an operating system? If I talk about Windows, you will find many directories there in the C drive, like program files, Windows, user. In Linux, we will find these directories. There is a top directory which is known as / or the root directory, and under this we will find /bin, /etc, /sbin, /usr, /var, /dev, /home. So a lot of directories are available there. Bin contains the binaries, etc contains the configuration files, sbin contains the system binaries, usr contains the read-only user application supportive data and binaries, var contains the variable files or the logs, dev contains the devices. I will discuss each and every directory and file in the upcoming sessions, don't worry about it. Home contains the user home directories. Lib contains the libraries and the kernel modules. MNT directory is used for the mounting purpose. OPT is used for the optional softwares and applications. Pro contains the processes that are directly attached to the kernel, and these files which are there in the proc directory are directly managed by the kernel. And root is the home directory for the root user. So these are the directories that you will find on a typical Linux machine, and we will cover up each and every directory in detail in the upcoming sessions. So don't worry about it. If you are not getting anything, leave it. Don't worry. I'll cover up. So that's it for this PPT. Now we can proceed further. As I mentioned earlier, Linux is available in different flavors. Different versions are also there. So Red Hat is, you can say it is a flavor. RHEL, Red Hat Enterprise Linux. Red Hat is a community which is actually managing this Linux. And the latest version of Red Hat is RHEL 9. RHEL 9 is the latest version of the Red Hat Enterprise Linux. And on this, you will appear in the exam if you want to go for the certification. If you will compare it with the RHEL 8, there are slight changes in RHEL 9. So we will have a look at all the details in RHEL 8 and RHEL 9. If I talk about the date of release, RHEL 8 was released in 7th of May 2019, while RHEL 9 was released in 70th of May 2022. If I talk about the code names, RHEL 8 was known as UTPA, RHEL 9 is known as PLO. If I talk about the kernel, RHEL 8 was available with kernel version 4.18, while RHEL 9 is available with kernel version 5.14. If I talk about the package management, both of these versions support DNF and YUM. DNF stands for Dandified YUM. YUM is therefore the full form of YUM is Yellow Dog Updater Modified. These are the package management tools that we use in Linux. I will talk about them in the upcoming sessions when I will teach you the package management. Both of these are available for AMD and Intel processors, as well as IBM Power Systems and IBM Z. They also support 64-bit ARM architecture. If I talk about the repositories, both of these versions support the base OS as well as app stream repositories. While in RHEL 7, there were only one repository. Now we have two repositories. Base OS contains the packages which are related to the operating system. App stream contains the packages which are related to the applications. If I talk about the initial setup, starting with RHEL 9, the initial setup screen have been disabled by default to improve the user experience. While in RHEL 8 users have to configure initial setup, licensing, system subscription, and the user settings prior to the genome initial setup and login screens. So this welcome screen or the initial setup screen is disabled now on RHEL 9. This is a major difference. If I talk about the SE Linux, in RHEL 9, you cannot directly disable the SE Linux. While in RHEL 8, you were allowed to do that. In case if you want to disable the SE Linux permanently, you have to do it from the single user mode. You have to do it from the boot menu. You cannot directly do it from the file. So from the configuration file, you can't do it. If I talk about the network script files, RHEL 9 doesn't contain the network script package. And to configure the network connections in RHEL 9, you will use network manager only. While in RHEL 8, you were allowed to use the network scripts package was available there, but it was decrypted in later versions of RHEL 8. Both of these operating systems support Node.js, Perl, PHP, Python, and Ruby. Python 2.7 was available in Python 2 package in RHEL 8, which is not in RHEL 9. In RHEL 9, we are using Python version 3.9. This is the difference. If I talk about the packet filtering concept in firewall, NF tables is used in RHEL 9 and same was used in RHEL 8 as well. Both of these operating systems support XFS as the default file system. There is a change. VDO, Virtual Data Optimizer, was available and supported on RHEL 8. And this is not supported now on RHEL 9. So you will not find a question based on the VDO in the exam. Earlier, it was available on RHEL 8, which is not available in RHEL 9. RunC and Docker was not included in RHEL 8, while crun is available in RHEL 9 and Docker is also supported there. So this is the difference. Docker was not supported in RHEL 8, which is now supported on RHEL 9. But we use Podman. By default, we are allowed to use Podman if we want to run the containers. If we want to manage the containers, we will use Podman only. So these are the differences or the changes that are there in RHEL 9. Not much difference, but there are slight changes there. Okay. Now, what we would require, we will require a system which is running on RHEL 9.3 on the latest version. If you want, you can directly deploy the RHEL 9.3 physically on your computer, like a bare metal server. If you want to set up a bare metal machine, like if you want to install the operating system physically, what can you do? You can download the ISO image from the Red Hat portal and you can write it in USB stick, and you can insert this the USB stick in your PC and you can install the RHEL 9 in your machine. But will that be a good option, especially for the beginners? Answer is no, because while learning Linux, you will create many problems. You will make mistakes. Many times you would require your machine to be deleted. So what will you do? Better option is use virtual machine, because here you can perform the task, and if you want, you can delete the machine and create a new one as per your choice. So before I tell you how can you deploy the virtual machines, you should know what is virtualization, because virtualization plays a important role in learning Linux and if you want to build your career in IT. What is virtualization? Virtualization provides you the facility to install and test and run the machine just like a physical machine with the help of the hypervisor or the virtualization tool. So let me give you the idea about the virtualization first. What is virtualization? There are several challenges with the physical machines. What are those challenges? On-premises data centers means the data centers where your hardware is present and it is present inside your infrastructure. So what are the problems that are associated with the physical servers? It is a physical server. If you want to use it, you will have to install the operating system on it, and you will use it like a bare metal server. You will physically deploy the operating system on this machine if you want to use it. So what are the steps that we use to install the operating system? There is a hardware. On this hardware, you will install the operating systems, and on the operating system, you can install the applications. After that, you can use those applications. But what are the challenges with these physical machines that you use in your day-to-day life or in your data centers? So physical servers have been a foundation component of the IT infrastructure for many years. Traditionally, we are using these physical machines, and if you want, you can deploy the operating system physically. You can use your PC as a bare metal machine. But there will be a lot of challenges like limited scalability, high maintenance cost, resource wastage, limited disaster recovery. These points I am mentioning here on the, you can say, on the basis of the problems that we face in the data centers. Space constraints, energy consumption, long deployment times, lack of flexibility, obsolete hardware, vendor lock-in period. So what are the problems? What are the major problems with the physical machines? First thing is you're not supposed to make mistakes there. If you'll make a mistake, if something will go wrong, you won't be able to access your machine. Second thing, you cannot use it for the learning purpose. Third thing, it takes a lot of time in physically deploying the machine, creating a bare metal machine, and it would require you to use a USB stick where you will first copy the ISO image. After that, you will put it in your PC. Then you will install the operating system, and after that you will install the applications, and process will keep going on. Once you make the mistake, if you will corrupt the operating system, again you have to follow the same practice. It might cost you with the data, like if some important data is there, your data will be gone. There will be a lot of challenges for you. So what will be the solution for these problems? For these problems, you can go for the virtualization. What is virtualization? You don't need to physically deploy the operating system on the hardware. So what will you do in the virtualization? On the same hardware where the host operating system is present, you can install the hypervisor tool. What this hypervisor tool will do? It will provide you the flexibility to run the virtual machines there. And each virtual machine will have its own operating system, and there you can deploy the applications. So what is important here? Hypervisor tool is important here, and there are a lot of hypervisor tools available in the market. Some of them are freely available, some of them are sold under license, means you have to purchase the subscription. Some of the popular hypervisor tools are VMware, Hyper-V, VirtualBox, Zen, KVM. So hardware is with you. You have a PC. PC means you have the hardware, you have a laptop. There, a host operating system is also available, like you are using Windows operating system. On that particular Windows operating system, you can install the hypervisor tool. You can install there the Hyper-V, or you can install the VMware, or you can install the VirtualBox. And in that particular hypervisor tool, you can install the virtual machine with the help of the ISO images. So what this hypervisor tool is doing, it is actually providing you the facilities to run the virtual machines with the same resources that are present in your machine. Like if you have 12 GB of RAM and 500 GB of hard drive, and that particular resources are available to you, and hypervisor will use these resources to run these virtual machines. Like if you have 6 GB of RAM freely available, so though that particular amount of RAM can be given to the virtual machines which you want to run there. Same thing for the other hardware resources like hard disk, the network, and camera, all those things which you are using with your PC. So what will you do? To run the RHEL 9 or to install the RHEL 9, you would require the virtualization tool. For that, you can use the Oracle VirtualBox. You can type Oracle VirtualBox on Google and open the very first link, and you can download the Oracle VirtualBox 7.0. It will prompt you on which operating system you want to install it. If you are using the Windows operating system in your PC, you can go for the Windows host. If you are using Macintosh, you can go for the Mac OS. Or if you are using any Linux operating system there, you can go for the Linux distributions. So generally, because we use Windows, we can go for the Windows host. It will allow you to download the setup file. Once it is downloaded, you can execute it and you can install it. The installer will guide you. You can click on next, 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 and you can install it on your PC. This is the first option. Either you can go for this, or what can you do? You can directly go for VMware Workstation. VMware Workstation Pro, you can type on Google. You can visit the first link. It will take you to the VMware page. Here, two options are available. Either you can get it for Windows or you can get it for Linux. You can accordingly choose, like if you are using Windows operating system, you can go for the Windows one or you can go for the Linux one. For Mac, VMware Workstation is not available. VMware Fusion is available. So for the Mac user, they can download the VMware Fusion. I will click on this download link and it will allow me to download the setup file. After that, we can click on next and we can install it. I have already installed the VMware Workstation. It is like this. This is the interface of VMware Workstation. It will also ask you for the keys, and keys you can get from GitHub. You can write VMware Workstation Pro keys GitHub. You can mention it and you can get it for free from the GitHub. But I will not recommend you. It is a paid software. Ideally you should buy it. But for the testing purpose, you can get the keys from GitHub. After mentioning these keys, you can activate it. So this is the tool. This is the hypervisor tool which will convert the physical resources into virtual, and it will allow us to download, to install the virtual machines. Now, what else we need? We need ISO image of RHEL 9. What we will do, we will write here Red Hat RHEL 9 ISO image download, and you can visit the first link. Once you click the first link, you will be redirected to the Red Hat portal, developers.redhat.com. There you can log in. If you already don't have account there, you can create it. I already have my account on this portal and I am already logged in. After that, I can click on this button, download RHEL at no cost, and it will allow me to download the RHEL 9.3 latest ISO image. I can get it. This is the ISO image. It is of 9.8 GB in size, almost 10 GB. So what are the requirements? You should have a broadband connection and a PC which must have at least minimum i5 or Ryzen 5 processor and minimum 8 GB of RAM and minimum 100 GB of disk space. If you don't have a PC, or if your PC is not capable enough to run the virtual machines, there are three things. What are the hardware specifications? Your PC must have either i5 or Ryzen 5 processor. It must have at least 8 GB of RAM. More is better. And minimum 80 to 100 GB of disk space. These are the requirements. And a broadband connection should be there. If you don't have a PC, if your PC is not good, or if your PC doesn't support the virtualization, then what can you do? You can go for the AWS. You can create your AWS account and you can sign into the console. Those who are new, who do not have any idea about AWS, what can they do? They can watch my video. I will provide you the link of that particular video, and they can create your account on AWS for free, and you can deploy your instance there on AWS and you can use that for practice. Once you downloaded the ISO image of RHEL 9.3, what will you do? You will create a virtual machine here. So how will you do that? Let me show you. You will create the virtual machine by clicking on this file button option, then click on new virtual machine, then you will select custom, click next. After that, you have to choose I will install the operating system later, then click on next, then select Linux from here, and from the drop down button select RHEL 9 64-bit, click next. After that, you can assign a name to this machine. Let me mention here RHEL 9.3. Click on next. Now you can assign the number of processors. Because I have a lot of processors, my processor is very powerful. I can allot as much as I want. I will allot 2 processors and 2 number of cores per processor. But in your case, you can keep it 1, because in your laptop, you might not be having those much resources as I have here on this desktop machine. So you can select 1 here. I will select 2. Click on next. After that, how much memory you want to assign, like the RAM size. So ideally, recommended memory is 2 GB for RHEL 9.3. But if your machine is not capable enough, you can reduce it to 1 GB only. You can go for 1 GB, but I don't have any memory constraints. I can go for 4 GB. In your case, you should go for 1 to 2 GB only. That is more than enough. Then click on next. Then it will ask you for the network connection. Here you can select the bridge networking or the network access network address translator. So I'll go for the second one, NAT. What is the meaning of this? How it is different? We will cover it in the networking portion. Don't worry about it. You can select the NAT option here. Go for next. Then it will ask you for the input output controller type. Keep it the recommended one, which is LSI logic. Then it will ask you for the virtual disk type. What type of disk you want to attach? By default, RHEL 9 supports NVMe. NVMe is a type of hard drive. It is very fast. So the virtual disk that will be added to your machine, what type of disk you want to attach? Either you can go for SCSI, you can go for SATA, or you can go for the recommended one, which is NVMe. You can go for NVMe if you want. If you want, you can go for SATA, you can go for SCSI. It totally depends on you. IDE is very older one, so we don't prefer and use it nowadays. So any of these 3 you can choose. I can go for NVMe. Create a new virtual disk. Yes, I want to create a new virtual disk. Maximum size of the disk is 20 GB, which is recommended. If you want more, you can go for more, but minimum is 20 GB. I want to store this disk as a single file on my Windows machine. If you want, you can go for the multiple files option. That is okay, no problems. Click on next, click on next. And after that, click on customized hardware. Select this CD DVD option and choose this option, use ISO image file. Here we need to click on browse and we need to select the image that we have just downloaded from the Red Hat portal. We need to select this image, click on open and then click on close and click on finish. Now what we have done, we have created a machine and we have attached the ISO image that we have downloaded from the Red Hat portal. Now we will power on this machine. Once this machine will start, it will guide us for the installation. Now we will select the first option with the help of the arrow keys. Install the Red Hat Enterprise Linux 9.3. Press enter. And the installer will start the installation. It will first test the resources, the hardware, and after that it will guide us the installation process. Why I added the resources more than the recommended one? Because I want that the installation should complete in a less amount of time. I want to show you the entire installation process here. Okay, so once the installer will begin the installation, it will show you the prompt like this. First, you will select the language, select English here, then the region, English India, click on continue. For your country, you can choose your own country. Like if you are in USA, you can select USA. You don't need to make any changes here in the keyboard. You don't need to make any changes in the software option like connect to Red Hat. You don't need to do that. Then you even don't need to make any changes here in the language section. You don't need to make any changes in the installation source because we have already selected this one. In the time zone, you can select your own time zone. I'm selecting here Kolkata, India. In the software selection, make sure server with GUI option is ticked Click on done. Kdump is enabled. What is kdump? We will talk later about it. Then click on the network and the host name. Make sure that this Ethernet option is enabled. If you want, you can mention the host name as well. You can leave it blank also. Then here you have to set the root password. You have to mention the same password 2 times. And if you want that the root user should be allowed to log in remotely, you have to tick this option, allow root user SSH with password. Click on done. Click on done. For security reasons, we should not allow the root user to log in through SSH, but because we are learning it, we can allow. After that, you have to create a normal user account. Let me mention the username. So this would be the normal user. The username would be Vikas Nehra. In your case, you can mention your own name. I want to make this user administrator. So I can tick this option, make this user admin, and I have to assign the password to this account as well. Click on done, click on done. After that, one option that we have not selected, the installation destination. Here, we have to make the changes very carefully. If you know how to create the partitions, you can go for the custom one, or if you have no idea about it, you can go for the automatic one. So if you choose custom, click on done, and here you can create manually the mount points. But if you don't have any idea, you can also create them automatically. Just click here, create them automatically, and they will be created at their own. Click on done. Accept the changes. Now we are good to go, and we can start the installation by clicking on the begin installation button. So our machine is getting installed in form of a virtual machine with the help of this virtualization tool. We are using VMware Workstation. Same process you can follow on the Oracle VirtualBox also. If you want, you can perform the same tasks on the Oracle VirtualBox. If you want to deploy your machine on AWS Cloud, you can do that as well. How can you do that? First of all, you would require to log in the AWS console. You have to log in there. So this is the AWS account which I am using right now. Thank you so much, Amit Pandey, for providing your account to me. Here you have to go to the EC2 service. EC2 is the Elastic Compute Cloud. It provides you the facility to run the virtual machines. On EC2, you have to click here on launch instance. Then you have to assign a name, like you can mention here RHEL 9 or 9.3 or any name which you want. Then you have to select the ISO image. You have to choose Red Hat here, RHEL 9, 64-bit architecture. It is a T2 micro instance. You can follow my AWS series for more details. Then key pair would be required. You can create a new key pair here. Let me mention here RHEL 9.3. This key would help us to log in the machine. We will download this key. After that, you don't need to make any changes here. Just click on launch instance. So our virtual machine is getting installed on AWS, and it would be ready within few minutes. This is the machine. This is the instance. And you can have a look at this, how fast it is. While the machine that we are trying to install in our VMware, it is taking time. It will take about 5 to 10 minutes. In your case, it may take 30 to 45 minutes. But the machine that we are launching on AWS, it is ready. It hardly took 30 seconds. And this is the public IP address that we can use to log in this machine. Now, how we will log in this machine? What are the command line tools? So there are multiple command line tools that we can use. The popular tool is PuTTY. you can download this tool, download putty, or you can go for MOBA external. It is also similar to putty, but it provides you many other options and facilities as well. It is freely available for the general use. You can get it. The home edition is freely available. You can download it and install it in your machine. I already have installed it in my machine. This is the tool that we are going to use to log in into our machine. We will click here on the sessions. We will click here on SSH. Here we will mention the IP address of our machine, the public IP address, and here we will mention the username. The default username for the AWS instances is EC2-user. After that, we will click on the advanced SSH settings. We will click here, use the private key, and here we will browse, and we will attach the key that we have downloaded earlier. This is the key file, and we will click on OK, and it will allow us to log in our machine, and here we go. This is the machine which is running on AWS, and we are able to log in into it by using this key pair. And let me show you by executing the commands uname-a, and you can have a look at this. This is a Linux machine, and it is running on AWS. 5.14 is the kernel version, and 64-bit is the architecture. Cat etc Red Hat release. You can have a look at this. RHEL 9.3 Pro, same name. Version is 9.3. And the machine that we are trying to install, it is still installing. Once the installation will complete, after that we will be able to use this machine, and we can log in this machine remotely as well as locally. So this is the process how we can create the virtual machines for this training, and for the other projects as well if we want. I have shown you the process of installing the virtual machine on the VMware as well as on the AWS cloud. If you want, you can use the Oracle VirtualBox as well. That is freely available. If you don't have any idea about the AWS, you can follow my sessions. Live sessions are freely available on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 9:30 p.m. IST. And I will provide you the video where I have shown how can you create your own free tier account on AWS. They will charge you 2 rupees and they will refund that amount also. And you can run the virtual machines for 750 hours there per month for 12 months. And you can practice the commands, the concepts which I will be explaining you during this training program. If your machine is not capable enough, if you are not having sufficient resources, sufficient hardware available in your PC, you should ideally create your account on AWS and you should deploy your machine there. Make sure once you complete the task, once you are not using your machine, you should shut down your instance there. To shut down the instance, you can go on the instance and you can stop it. You can right click on this and you can stop this instance. Or you can directly do it from the command line interface. What can you do? You can mention here sudo shutdown. Or if you want to immediately shut down it, shutdown -h now. It is stopped. Now if you will go on the AWS console and refresh the page, you will find that the instance is stopped. Always stop the instance after completing your work, otherwise AWS will start charging you. Okay, let me come back. So once your machine is ready here, I will show you how can you connect to this machine. Our machine is still in the installation state. It would be ready after a few minutes. I have another machine there. Let me show you this machine. This is the machine which I deployed few days back. let me power on this machine. I will show you the interface, the GUI, and I will also show you how can you log in through the Mobix term. Machine is ready. So this is the GUI or the local console of our machine. Here, the Vikas Nehra is the user which I created at the time of the installation. Let me mention the password for my account, and it will allow me to use the GUI. This is the GUI of RHEL 9.3. Here you can click on the activities. It will show you the desktop and the other tools that are available there, like calculator, text editor, settings. But we will hardly use GUI in this training. This is the terminal which we can use to fire the commands. And let me check the IP address of this machine here. And the IP address is 192.168.229.128. With the help of this IP address, we can log in this machine from the Mobix term. This is the IP address, and I just logged in. This is my local machine which is running on the VMware. Let me show you cat etc Red Hat release. Linux RHEL 9.3 Pro uname-a. You can see the details, kernel version 5.14. And if I want to shut down this machine, I can mention shutdown -h now, or I can mention here init 0. Init 0 will shut down this machine. Have a look at this. Machine is stopped now. So that's it from my side for today's session, and we have covered all the points, all the things that I mentioned in the beginning of the session. Now the floor is open for you. If you have any queries, you can ask me one by one. You can unmute your microphone and you can ask me if you have any questions. Yes.
I have a question, Nehra sir. Use
One by one,
eight.
one by one. Yes, who is this? Davesh.
It's
Yes,
someone.
sir.
Yes, Davesh. Ask.
So I have one question while installing the software. Let's suppose I forgot the user password, right? So is it possible to recover that
Yes.
password?
Yes. It is possible to
Okay.
recover the user password. It is also possible to recover the root password. You don't need to worry about. I will guide you. How can you set and reset the password for the user as well as for the root user account. Once we will cover the user management section, then I will let you know about these questions. You don't need to worry
All
about it.
right.
I will cover.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. Thank
Yes.
you.
Sir, I have a question.
Yes, Rajesh. Ask.
Sir, after once OS gets installed,
Yes.
how do you confirm all the drivers of the system? Suppose the graphic drivers, network drivers, webcam drivers, everything is installed properly.
It depends on which mode we made the installation. If we have selected the server with GUI, it will automatically install all the requirements which are there for the GUI or for the tools that we want to use. Second thing, if there is some error, the installation will not complete. It will show the errors.
Yeah.
Like if your ISO image is corrupted, it will show
Okay.
you that as well. Now, one more thing which I forgot. Once your installation is complete, make sure you take the snapshot because it will help you to create the machine in case something goes wrong or if you want to restore it back. You need to click on take snapshot and you need to take the snapshot of the instance that you have installed. In case something goes wrong with this machine, you can directly restore it from the snapshot that you created earlier. You don't need to follow the entire installation process time and again. With the help of this snapshot, you can directly deploy the machine and you can use this snapshotted machine as a template. With the help of this machine, you can create a number of machines. Like if I want to clone it, I can easily do that. Click on clone, next, next, create a full clone, and your machine would be ready within fraction of seconds. That's why on cloud, we were able to launch the instance within 30 seconds. Because on cloud, we are cloning the machine from the template. We are not installing it from scratch. You can have a look at this. Our machine is ready. Now we have 3 machines here. Okay, got it? Yes, ask me if you have any questions, Mr.
Yeah,
Aman.
one more thing, sir. Yeah, no.
Yes.
Do you
I
have any
was
questions?
asking if it's yes. I was asking if it's good to use CentOS 8 instead of Red Hat.
You can use CentOS, but better to use CentOS 9, or you
Ah,
can use
okay.
Elma Linux 9 or the other flavors which are similar to Red Hat.
Okay, thank you,
But
sir. I
but
will install Red Hat.
but if you want to
Yeah.
go for the certification, you should always prefer Red Hat, because the repository challenges you will not encounter there. Those things you will only
Okay.
understand here if you will start using Linux, because we are not using any subscription, so we have to create the repositories manually, locally. Okay.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Okay, sir.
Any other thing which you want to ask me?
Yeah, I want to ask one thing, sir. इसमें we have done this installation with the VM
थोड़ा
workstation
जोर
Pro.
से बोलिए दीपक जी. Speak a bit louder.
हाँ जी. Hello, now can you hear me?
Yes, yes,
Okay, so you have done the installation using VM workstation Pro here.
yes.
Do we have video somewhere else where we can do the installation with the help of Oracle VM?
Oracle
Because
VirtualBox, yes,
as
definitely. I will provide you the link of the video. You don't need to worry
yeah,
about. But
okay,
you can use VMware because it provides you the better display. It's
okay.
very easy to manage.
Only worry about this VMware is the license jo we are
I have
getting from the
I have
gift.
already shown you how can you get the key. It works
Yeah,
like a
but-
license one.
Yeah, but only thing is it's not a freeware, so I don't want to take a risk in that. But it's
They
fine.
are
It's
actually what happens. What they are doing, they are leaking the keys at their own to make their popular
Okay.
the product popular.
Okay, so this demo version which we can download and put the key, so it will work for next 1 year, right? It will not stop in between.
No,
For
no, they will
example.
not stop you. I'm using it
Okay,
from
good.
last 10 years. They won't stop
Okay.
you. Because we are using
Good.
it for the development and testing. We are not using it in production. Ideally, you should avoid
Okay.
using it in production. In production, you should
Okay.
always use the licensed versions.
Okay, okay. You can provide the link of Oracle VM also for otherwise.
Yes, I can provide. You can Google. There is no need to worry. You can directly write here on Google VMware Workstation
Okay.
Pro. It will give you the link of the website from where you can download it. And
No, no, sorry. I'm asking about this. Yeah, this one I know that. I'm talking about the Oracle VM.
same for the Oracle VirtualBox. You can mention Oracle VirtualBox on Google. You don't need to remember the links.
Configuration wise, it's the same configuration. Or you have done this because you have explained this configuration using this Pro. Have you explained also somewhere using this VirtualBox?
Yes,
Also the steps
yes.
of this.
In one of the videos, I have explained that. I can provide you that link. You don't need
Yeah,
to
yeah,
worry about
that link.
I will show you.
Yeah.
Yes. Anyone who want to ask any questions or having any queries?
Yes, sir. Sir, at the initial stage, can we do the practice on CentOS operating system in place of RHEL?
As I mentioned earlier, you can use CentOS. There is no problems. But make sure that you use CentOS 9. And in CentOS,
Right.
you will not face those challenges which you will face here, like how to configure the repositories, because in CentOS you will directly you are allowed to execute the commands and install the packages there because the online repositories are present. In RHEL, if we don't have the subscription, we cannot use the online repositories, we cannot download any additional software, we cannot install it. So what we do, we configure the local repositories, and that is a part of the exam. You should be able to manage the local repositories. That's why I am forcing you to use RHEL based Linux only, RHEL 9. Download it. If you don't have the ISO image, go somewhere where you have the Wi-Fi facility and download it. Get it downloaded. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, I have a question. How to troubleshoot the corrupted drivers especially in Linux, sir?
We will cover that portion as well. First, let us go there. Let us reach there. We can fix it easily. We can do it with the help of the ISO image. We can fix anything. If we have the ISO image from the installation was done, we can fix the bootloader, we can fix the corrupted kernel, we can fix the MBR, we can fix the drivers. Anything is available, anything can be done. There is a process. Yes.
So I'm seeing two versions of Red Hat Linux. One is for 900 MB and then another is for 9 GB. Which one I should be going for from the
9.8,
website?
because in the 9.8 GB ISO image, you will find everything. All the packages, all the tools, all the utilities are available there. You don't need to go anywhere for the additional requirements. You can easily get it from the ISO image itself. So go for the 9.8 GB ISO image of RHEL 9.3.
So can you please show back again that where I can find the
Definitely.
keys for the?
Let me check. Red Hat. Actually, if I will visit this link again, my camera will stop working. Let me check if I'm already logged in or not. Yeah, this is the link.
Okay.
I will provide you the link
And
in the chat.
for the VMware, please.
For the VMware also, let me provide you the link. Copy it. Let me give
Very
it
good.
on the group. VMware
So this
Workstation Pro.
so this recording we would see tomorrow, right? Because we would like to see
This
this
recording will
recording.
be provided to you tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Then we would configure for tomorrow because there are some steps you have.
I will upload it. Don't worry. I will try to upload it now.
Okay.
You can copy the link and let me provide you the link in the group. Yes, this is the link for the VMware Workstation. For the Oracle VirtualBox also, let me provide you the link. This is the link of the Oracle VirtualBox. You can accordingly download the Oracle VirtualBox for your Windows or the Linux-based machines.
ठीक है. और एक link sir later if you can provide for how to configure on the VMbox Oracle. जो you have done that in some.
The process is similar. After you install
Okay.
the Oracle VirtualBox, you have to execute the same process which I have shown you on the VMware.
So where
Exactly.
the keys for the VMware for the full version?
If you have sufficient resources available in your machine, you should prefer VMware. If you have minimum resources available, then you can go for VirtualBox because VirtualBox is the lighter version.
Yes, I'm asking for the keys that you showed that so that we can use
Keys
the
are available
VMware.
at GitHub, yaar. You don't need to worry about. Everything is available on internet. These are the keys.
Free VMware keys GitHub. Okay.
But I do not recommend this for the production. It is for your own testing and learning purpose.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yes. Anything else? Any other questions which you want to ask? Yasin Ali Khan is asking, is broadband mandatory? Yes, definitely. Broadband is mandatory. Otherwise, how will you download the ISO image, which is of 10 GB in size? It would be very difficult for you to manage the download. If you already have the ISO image with you, if you have already downloaded it from somewhere, then a minimum internet connection is available. Like you don't need to go for the internet. Mobile internet is more than enough.
So directly it's kind of crashing because like it's a really large file. So I was wondering if they Reddit provides some kind of torrent links as well where you could like download it.
Can you
from
please
torrent
repeat
because,
and speak a bit louder?
sir, I'm saying that RHCL, this files 9.8 GB is really large to download from the direct link on the Chrome browser. So I was wondering if these guys provide like the torrent file or like a mirrors which we can.
Torrents would be available on internet, but how will you check the authenticity? So the best option is to get it directly from Reddit. You can create your account there on Reddit portal and you can easily download it. It is not very difficult. It hardly takes 20 to 50 minutes on a broadband connection.
Yeah, it was crashing actually, but my internet is like super fast, but I don't know why it's crashing.
Can we
in the
apply for
middle.
the RHCSA exam in Reddit portal? Yes, you can purchase the voucher, but once you purchase the voucher, it is valid for the 1 year only. So what I will recommend you, do not purchase the voucher now. Once you complete the training, after that you can directly purchase the voucher either from the Reddit or from any other vendor, and accordingly you can schedule your exam and appear in the exam. You can appear in the exam remotely as well as from the center. It totally depends on your choice. Okay.
Perfect.
Any other questions? किसी को और कुछ पूछना है मुझसे पूछ सकते हो. कुछ डाउट हो, कुछ चीज समझ में ना आई हो, हिंदी में पूछ सकते हो.
Yes, sir. I have a hardware i3 and 8 GB RAM. it is possible to use RHEL, or I can use on
8
AWS
GB of
processor.
RAM and the processor is
8 GB. RAM is 8 GB.
RAM is 8 GB, processor is Intel i5.
Yes, sir. Intel.
Yes, you can use.
And which platform is better, sir, from AWS, or I can use a virtual
VMware is better because here you will be performing the other tasks also, like I will show you how can you interrupt the boot process. I will show you how can you regenerate the grub, how can you fix the MBR. So those things we will cover here. So VMware is the better option. AWS can also be used for the learning purpose. Okay.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yes. Anything else?
Hello, sir.
हाँ जी अजय
Hello,
जी.
sir.
हाँ जी अजय जी बताइए.
Ajay here. Sir, we can use Fedora for this to practice.
मुझे आपकी आवाज़ नहीं आ
Fedora
रही.
version.
थोड़ा जोर से बोलेंगे प्लीज.
सर हम Fedora version यूज कर सकते हैं क्या इसको? We can use Fedora.
मुझे समझ में नहीं आ रहा, आपकी आवाज एको कर रही है. आपको किसी को समझ
सर
में
वो
आया?
बोल रहे हैं फेडोरा वर्जन यूज कर सकते हैं क्या?
फेडोरा
He's
यूज
asking it.
देखो फेडोरा यूज कर सकते हैं. फेडोरा पर ही बेस्ड है RHEL, लेकिन मैं आपको रेकमेंड यही करूंगा कि अगर आप सर्टिफिकेशन की तैयारी कर रहे हैं तो RHEL का ही यूज करें. लर्निंग पर्पज के लिए आप यू कैन ऑल्सो यूज फेडोरा, नो इश्यूज. मैं भी फेडोरा यूज करता हूँ. जी
Hello.
हाँ जी नीरव जी. यस गो अहेड.
Sir, while we purchase this RHCSA voucher, so we get 2 attempts, correct?
यस करेक्ट.
So after getting first attempt, if we are not able to clear the exam, so we have to take second attempt in how many days? Like it is mentioned 90 days, I guess.
It is mentioned, but you can appear in the exam till the validity of the voucher is you have. Like you might have failed in the first attempt, and after the first attempt you can appear in the exam within 1 week, or you can appear in the exam up to the validity of the voucher. Like if 30 days
Okay.
validity is remaining, you can appear within 30 days. If 60-day validity is remaining, you can appear within 60 days. It is something
Okay.
like that. Okay.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Anything
Okay.
else?
No more questions. Thank you so much.
Okay. Okay, guys. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for joining today's session. I will provide you the recording of this session by tomorrow morning. You will get it on Google Drive. And please make sure that you install the virtualization tool in your machine and create a virtual machine there as I shown. Because from the next session, we will directly proceed with the commands. Okay. Thank you so much for joining the session. See you
sir.
guys tomorrow
Thank you so much.
at 8 p.m. IST. Bye-bye. Good night.
you.
Take care. Thank you.